Hello and welcome to Be in the Spotlight. And today my guest is Tom. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Hi, Sue. Thank you very much for having me. My name's Tom. I, with my partner, run a company called Virens. We're based in Yateley, so near you, and we are basically a small business marketing company. So we help out normally companies up to kind of 10 employees with web design, Google Ads, SEO, and Google business profiles, and then a few other things kind of mixed in, I guess. But those are probably our core services. So we've obviously got a lot of contacts in common because of not just our locality, but yeah, that kind of target market, I guess.
Yep, that's it. That is very true. So, what I would sort of before I go into the actual conversation, which I know is going to be very interesting, I've got to ask you, Virens, what made you come up with the name Virens for your
Yeah,
business?
it's a good question. So, and the little weird fact is it's tattooed on me, but that was before the company was started.
Okay.
So, um, the you get a lot of marketing. Let's call ourselves an agency. We're not keen on the word agency because it gives off expensive, kind
Mm,
of aloof some vibes, I guess. But we were thinking about branding. We were thinking of words that meant, I guess, flourishing, so
mm,
growth, that type of
mm,
stuff. It
mm.
is a Latin word, so it's a little bit cliche, but it basically means flourishing. So if something was virens, it would be it's often used for plants, for example, to classify them and actually just to describe when they're kind of very healthy, almost overgrown, I guess, at points. So but the reason we knew about the word virens is because my family crest has got
Mm.
a motto in it that is Latin, and it's got the word virens in it. So
Oh, okay.
that I've had tattooed on me since I was in my 20s, probably. So that's sub sole sub umbra virens. So it means
Oh,
through sunshine and in shade. Basically, there's a few different kind of ways you can translate it, but
oh.
um, so that's how it came about. Yeah. So actually, and hence our branding's predominantly green, and so it kind of came about weirdly through my surname, actually.
Okay. Oh, wow. So, yeah, interesting story. And I'm glad you pronounced it because I probably would have been one of the 100 people that would always call you
No,
Virens and not
yeah. Do
Virens.
you know what? It's actually I wouldn't say traditionally we would actually tell people it's a problem. When you're a marketing company, it doesn't really matter as much. It doesn't really matter if it's pronounced Virens or Virens. Most people pronounce it Virens. But yeah, if you look it up, the correct way is Virens. It's like a bit like Vim, Vigor, the same kind of concept as that. But yes, we've got used to people calling it Virens. Even my family members call it Virens at times. So
So,
that's just the way it is. But yeah,
uh,
who cares?
as long as we know who you are, and that's the important
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
actually, and that actually is quite actually nicely into the vi I the vi part of it as opposed to the vi, because yeah, I think that leads into the story of how we actually got to
Yeah,
meet each
definitely.
other properly, because I always think of you as the knight in shining armor, going into battle, victory, etc. That's I'd see it was coming with the ear. It was coming with the ear. So, would you like to share how we actually came into each other's orbits? Because I think out of all of the guests I've spoken to over the years, you and I are the ones that have actually got a backstory that
Yeah,
that
definitely. So it was presumably through, I think it was a local Facebook group, and you were having some problems with Meta Business Suite. So the bit that sits above Facebook, Instagram, Meta ads, etc., which is a hell of a beast. It's not much fun to work with, and you were having some problems with multiple accounts, logging in, linking. Um, and from memory, you posted in one of the local community groups, and I just helped you out basically. So
yeah,
as we do now and then, I like to just help people sort their problems. So
yeah,
that's probably my number one thing. I think problem solving is what I kind of get up for every day, really. So,
yeah.
and that was a good example of when it happened, and then we've stayed in contact ever since.
It was a really big problem. I actually lost access to my business page and account and everything else. And
But surprisingly common, and the business suite is a nightmare. It gets hacked
uh,
a lot. Over the years, we've dealt with many people. Meta support you can get through to it, but they're pretty useless. So it's yeah, it's more common than you might think it is.
It was, and I know you were right. I did put a cry for help because I think I put it was actually on my profiles. I put that I'd actually been, or I managed to lock myself out of an account in the iPad died in the middle of the process, and it locked me out.
The irony.
The irony of it. And then, of course, I put on the post about it, and then I got inundated with people about my account being hacked and all this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. Oh, it was awful. So yes, you did come to my rescue, and I think I've been afraid to change my details ever since then. But
But there's a big problem with it. I mean, without jumping forward too many topics, something like your Facebook page is worth, to a small business, it's worth its weight in gold.
mm,
And if you lose access to it, or you've put a weak password in or something like that, you wouldn't do that if it was a safe in your
yeah,
home or whatever.
yeah,
It's funny how many people just disregard, as you're well aware, online security and just password hygiene and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
was, and to combine that with the complexity of Meta Business Suite and all the things around there, it's not a
Yeah.
great combo.
No, no, it was a very stressful time, I can assure you, and I was very, very grateful for Tom to come to my rescue. So, anyway, that was a little bit of a backstory. We don't normally have one of those before I start chatting, but it was worth sharing. So, if
Yeah,
you ever
definitely.
do get problems with your account, so you need a knight in shining armor, Tom is the man to speak to for sure. So, anyway, going on a little bit more, I just want to sort of take us through sort of your day to day, like what is a typical day in the life of Tom at Viren's? What would you
Yeah,
say?
it's probably quite varied. I mean, so the bulk of the work is still done by my partner and me. So we use a few freelancers for stuff, but that does mean that one day I'll be building a website. The next day I might be optimizing Google business profiles. I might be doing some keyword research. So we have a fairly standard working day. It's normally 9 to 5. I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I might go on and just sit on the sofa watching telly maybe in the evening. But yeah, it's hugely varied. The only thing that's constant, I guess, is we'll get up in the morning, have a quick meeting, look at we use Trello to manage our tasks.
Mhm.
So we have a quick look at that, take stock, agree what the priorities are for the day, and then crack on. And then basically work through whatever it is. I've got a website to build this afternoon. I've got some SEO I need to do as well. Then yeah, it really does vary between those core activities in the main.
Mm,
But lucky enough, obviously, we work for ourselves. We do still have the luxury of being able to go for walks at lunch and stuff like that. So it's
mm.
a lovely balance, and I wouldn't go back to the corporate life if I could possibly avoid it.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. What would you say? There's quite a variety there, and you've talked about website and SEO and doing research and things like that. Um, what what would you say was the bit that you probably enjoyed the most? What sort of really put a buzz? What puts the buzz into your business, as you
Yeah,
say? What do you
it's
enjoy?
probably anything that's problem solving. So don't get me wrong, a new website is very rewarding when you see the results,
Mm,
sometimes within days of it going live.
mm,
We've had a few of those recently where we've replaced old websites, and you instantly, even though maybe there was a lot of content on the old website, but it might have
mm,
been really difficult to use, or
mm,
it was poor in terms of the way it was converting people through to a lead. And overnight, sometimes you can just see transformations, and businesses, as you can imagine, are pretty chuffed.
mm,
That's rewarding. The web design work is probably not quite as rewarding when you're doing it. It's the result.
mm,
Whereas some of the other bits, SEO can be very rewarding because you can use all sorts of tools and data. And I like getting kind of into the weeds with that. And business profiles are probably what I think where we often have biggest impact quickly because it's just an underrated kind of business asset. I guess.
mm.
So you can go through like a 60-point checklist that we've made, and within a matter of hours, that business profile could be ranking better, and you could be getting more inquiries. So again, but it's all problem solving, really, I suppose. That's
That's
really what floats my boat.
Oh, it sounds exciting. And you've touched a few things there, actually. We've talked about Google ranking, we've talked about websites, we've talked about profiles, and all of those are really big things for anybody that's a solopreneur starting out in their business, even if it's a side hustle before it's, full grown. But
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize how difficult it is. They will get hit with, oh, you've got to have a Facebook profile, you've got to have a business page, you've got to have in the past it was you need to have a group, you need to have a lead magnet, you need to do a mailing list,
yeah,
need
yeah,
a
yeah,
newsletter, you need to do this, you need to do that. And you're literally, overwhelmed before you've even started. You need to niche down who's your target audience,
yeah,
yada,
yeah, yeah.
yada, all of these things. And yeah, it can be really, really overwhelming. And I can definitely say I've been through that trap and all of the sales pitches that there are going out there. As a newbie person setting up or somebody that's already started but is struggling, what do you feel um, from a marketing perspective and as a small business are really the things that you need to have and that you need to focus on? If you were really restricted on time, what would you say were the things that we need to have?
Yeah, yeah. The so some of it's going to depend on what problems you're solving and who you're solving them for. So there's a lot of instances where you can run a business off a Facebook page
Mm,
because you can advertise on it, which is one of the benefits of having a website, but you can do the same. You can post on it, you can get leads through it, you can post in community groups, you can interact with people, you can message. So that might be the right situation. That might be the best thing you can do. Most businesses, certainly service businesses that travel to customers, so trades, I would say the Google Business Profile is probably the thing you should start with because it gets you that presence on Google Maps, in search results, and to some extent you'll probably get in eventually into some kind of AI search results as well, just with a well optimized business profile. So those are probably the two lowest cost things that I would recommend. I mean, look, ultimately in the long run, you want to be trying it as much as you can, but you want to be thinking about where your customers are. Where do they hang out? That might
mm,
be Reddit. That might be searching in search results, because that's
mm.
just a reality, which is when you're going to start need to think about a website, for example. So it really depends, but certainly the two lowest cost ways are going to be social media. So not just Facebook, obviously, Instagram, TikTok, and a business profile. Because if you set that up yourself and you can get through video verification, it's a hugely valuable asset, and it's the quickest way and the lowest cost way to get into search results.
So I'm just going to ask a stupid question here. So if you've got a Google account that perhaps you've set up ages ago, and then you start using for business, how easy or how difficult is it to create a Google profile for business then, if you haven't done it already?
You could still just so the only real requirement for the Google account bit is you need a Google account to run it. So that can be a Google Workspace account, or that could just be a free Gmail account. So you can do it with either. Um, that barrier to entry is pretty low, actually. There's a few more technicalities over what businesses can have a profile, but the big one, I guess, is online only businesses. In theory, aren't allowed profiles. They don't meet the criteria. But if someone can visit you at an
Mhm.
address, or if you travel to your customers, as a rule of thumb, that means you're eligible for one.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Thank you for sharing that one.
Mm, that's all right.
So, do you feel that people need to have a website? Do you think that if you haven't got one, your business is suffering, or do you think that it is an important one to have as much as do your social media?
Caveating with that, I'm probably going to give you a bit of a biased answer. Um, there's can you survive without one? Yes, without doubt. Are you going to thrive without one? It's unlikely, but not impossible.
Mm,
So you'll certainly see some examples on social of people selling things via influencers and stuff like that, where you're using maybe TikTok Shop or something like that. Again, that's basically not having a website, so it's very doable.
mm,
You've just got to be in the kind of the right space, I guess. But in most cases, it's really difficult to scale the business or get to your first employee, for example, without one, because there's so many different things you can do with it. We've got a blog post that maybe we can link to after, which lists 24 reasons why you should have a website, and that they range from appearing in search results through to answering questions,
Mm.
through to converting people into leads, capturing data,
Mm.
being able to run ad campaigns and send traffic to them, all the things that you can only really do with a website. So
Mm.
I think they're as important now as they ever have been,
Mm.
particularly when you factor into, I guess, AI now is using information from your website as well to understand about you. So again, you're just increasing your chances of appearing in ChatGPT and Claude and whatever. So
Yeah, no, that is very true, and AI does pay. It has made major changes to the way we work,
mm,
which I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about in
yeah,
a little bit. Um, so yes, so in general, the website is just as much as part of your business you need to get set up as your social media pages. But again, it's not just about having a profile and having the pages, it's also what you put on it, isn't it? And I know we've talked a little bit about who we work with and stuff like that. One of the rabbit holes that I went down is, who it is you work with, and what sort of service or offer it is you provide, or the niche and things. And for me, I know I went on a terrible journey of going through all of
yeah,
these bits and hoops and stuff that people were telling me to do,
yeah. And something
which
we've chatted about in the past, in fact,
yeah,
isn't it?
and I won't say it was bad advice. It was definitely a big learning curve. But the silly thing is, in the process of going through that, I feel I lost who I was, my identity, and the thing that made me what was unique about me in the first place. And I've actually 2 years later come back full circle to
Yeah,
sort of where I was 2 years ago when I started. But I think the clarity is in the message in what I do now. So when I say I'm Sue and I provide IT View, bespoke tailored systems designed and tailored to meet your ears, it is literally what I do. And basically, what people have come to me for is they've all had different problems, which I've solved. Like you, I like solving problems. I like learning, and trying to put me into one box, it
yeah,
just didn't fit. They've all actually been part of a journey of a process from being safe online, designing, creating presentations, using Word. All of them have had a follow through, and
yeah,
it's been part of the journey. But it's been very bits and pieces, and I think that was something that I found personally was the hardest to do, and then to actually come back and actually say, do you know what, I was actually clear in what I was doing, but I listened to people that didn't really know what I was doing and what was the offer. And I think that was the thing. So what would you give advice wise to people from a marketing, because it is down to sales and marketing, to save them going through all the mistakes that I made on my
yeah,
journey
yeah.
and not waste
Yeah, I
so
think
much time?
trying to find there's an element of kind of it's not practical to do a load of research up front, but one of the things we recommend to new business owners is if you Google something called a lean canvas or a business model canvas, it's quite a good way of really focusing in on what you think you want to do, who your problem is, what your costs are. It's like a one-page business model basically, and it's quite interesting, really challenging yourself to do one. So that's one way of doing it. The way Viren's evolved, actually, we didn't do that, even though we knew of and had used it in our previous jobs. We basically started out by doing all the marketing,
Mm,
and honed in on eventually, kind of after probably maybe 2.5 years,
mm,
we just cut our services in half. So
mm,
because actually we could do social media, we could do sign design, we could do printed, leaflets and all these other things, email marketing, and we still do now and then on special request, basically. But
mm,
we were just like, hold on a minute, this isn't really what we like doing. It's not what we're best at. Our background wasn't really in them either, so we just cut our services in half, and now we've kind of stuck around this core of search results, Google, web design. I guess is probably what we do now. So
mm,
you might just naturally, a bit like you have actually, is
mm,
it's almost easier to start doing all the things you can do
mm,
than eventually slim down to the things that you maybe want to do or you're expert at.
Mm.
Not always that easy, and you can't necessarily survive long enough to get through that. So it's not always perfect,
No.
but it's certainly another way of doing it, because the only other real way is really do some upfront thinking and try and isolate it that way. So yeah, I always say you've got things you can do, you've got things you like doing, and
Mm.
you've got things you're expert at, and
Mm.
it's working out what that blend of your services is over time, because you might be able to do lots of things, but actually it doesn't mean that either there's demand for them, or they're going to be profitable enough to keep doing them in the long run.
Yeah, and that is another thing. It's the what you like doing, what there's a demand for, and making sure that what you're doing is there's a demand for that you like doing, and not always do the two go together, which can be a little bit frustrating. But it's also learning the words that the people are using to describe what the problem is that you're
Yeah,
solving, and then using that way. And that's another challenge I found as being quite difficult to get my head around. So I'm a very literal person, it's all sort of black or white for me. So
yeah,
trying to get in my head of how other people think and work is I've from a business perspective I've found very challenging. From a classroom, it's so easy because it's happening all the time. We're all the
yeah,
classroom is full of problems with tech and everything else and using it. So it's very easy to relate to those problems and solve it. But when it comes to putting it in a business perspective, the rule book has changed quite dramatically, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has struggled with it, but it always seems everybody else finds it really easy. So, but
yeah. And it's changed. Well, small businesses don't have the luxury of, in my old career, I had the luxury of big email lists, surveys,
mm,
being able to interview customers. You don't have that as a small business owner. You've got some tools you can use on the internet. You've got people local community groups. It's very different.
mm,
So you have got to feel your way around sometimes.
mm,
And I mean, I'd definitely say recommend things like doing some keyword research, or getting someone to do it for you, so you can
mm,
understand what people are typing into
mm,
search results, because that does make it constitutes such a large percentage of it, I guess, these days.
mm,
Further complicated by, obviously, AI is changing completely how that's done, but
mm,
that's one good way of trying to get a feel for what you might want to do, and how you frame it as well.
no,
We did that, I guess, early days in Virens. We knew there was demand for business profile optimization. A lot of the actors in the UK are a bit shady. They've not got a great reputation, and a lot of the expertise is in North America. So we have tried to make a bit of a name for ourselves, and actually we've got a really good reputation in the industry as one of the kind of UK's top business profile experts. So because we could see there was demand there from doing some keyword research, focusing on UK, but looking at the service offering, it wasn't great. So, and North America are often a bit ahead of us
mm,
when it comes to things that are related to Google. Google launches products there first in general. So we knew there was something to get onto, and that it was that keyword research that really made us believe that
mm,
that thing we actually love doing as well, and we're really good at,
mm.
could be the one thing to really kind of exploit's the wrong word, but try and take advantage of, I guess. So
No, well, you've heard it there first, guys. He's the best.
I
Oh,
wouldn't go
dear.
that far, but
Better than me anyway. Oh, dear. Um, so just want to sort of go on a little bit more. So we've talked about a lot here about the marketing and visibility, and things like that. What do you think people should be doing? What was one of the biggest mistakes you see people making in terms of visibility on their social media profile? And what do you think are some of the quick fixes that we could do to improve it, for example?
yeah. So I think the number one we find is inactivity, actually, probably these days. So we've got a few clients that we just post monthly for, or we encourage them to, because whilst you know a lot of social accounts are very active because they're in your head, because you see them quite a lot because they're always posting.
Mm,
One of the biggest dangers, and this is again where I guess a website helps as well, but is someone recommends a service, and then normally someone will go and look for reviews,
mm,
website, or social media presence. And if you haven't posted for 18 months,
mm.
there is a bit of an assumption there that is that business, or a bit of a question, I guess, is are they still in business?
Yeah.
So it can be quite off-putting. It's obviously pretty easy to remedy. I'm not suggesting you need to go and post every day,
Mm,
but even once a month is something, and it could
mm,
just be something simple like sharing a review, or
mm,
a quick update of a job or something like that. So
mm,
I would say that's probably one of the easiest things to fix. And it's surprisingly common because
mm,
all those accounts that you can't think of at the moment that
mm,
you follow aren't posting because you can't think of them, and
mm,
that's half the issue.
mm,
And a lot of it is just it's that credibility thing as well. It's why
mm,
reviews are important. It's why one of the reasons why websites are important. So I think that's probably for me the most common thing we see. And then obviously you've got a whole other raft of challenges of social media, of getting engagement,
mm,
getting followers, etc. But I
mm.
think that one's probably the easiest to remedy and most common.
Mm. That's actually a good point that you've raised there. And I know we were talking off camera about some people that we both know, acquaintances that have seemed to have just disappeared off the radar. And as
Mm,
you think, have they folded, or
yeah.
what's going on there? And excuse me, one of the things that I know from my own teaching of social media, and I was with the only slight similarity that I've got with you in that is with getting people to set up their account for businesses that were looking at doing that. And you've said to them that you need to be creating content, follow in, find out what other people are doing, and then create your own content. But you don't have to be doing it every day, but even commenting and engaging with other people's posts
Yeah, yeah.
is something important. And to put like a schedule together of how to manage the time. And it is a time consuming job. I put hands up, I don't do as much as I should be doing, and I need to do a lot more. But they start up with great enthusiasm, and then it all sort of peters out, and you sort of think, if you want to be doing something, you have to do the work, you have to put in the effort. And I've seen it before where real accounts have got really big following, they're out there doing everything every day, and then all of a sudden they'll stop posting and they'll have a break, months, not not weeks,
Mm,
months
mm,
away, and then they'll suddenly come back again. Oh, I've had been working on my offer, I've been doing this behind the scenes, and blah 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 for whatever reasons, and then they'll come back, and then they'll go again, and they come back, or they go onto a different platform. And you think, where are you supposed to be going, or what are you up
yeah,
to
yeah.
doing
Sends a
now?
confusing message,
It,
doesn't
it,
it?
it
Yeah,
it does. And I think the one thing I would have said is, since I've been doing social media, and I never set out to go onto social media to be creating content. Mine was literally for research purposes, and, and finding how it works from a
yeah,
view of teaching it. And it sort of went in and grew the other way. But I've never had a break from social media in the 3 years that I've been on it. I've never repeated a post. I've never. It's all been
yeah,
it may be similar messages, but I've, and slightly depending what the offer was that I was doing, have changed things. But ultimately, it's been a continuous sort of portfolio of evidence of what I've been doing ever since I've sort of started. So
yeah,
yes, it has been time consuming. Yes, it meant that I haven't managed to focus on some other areas of the business, which I need to sort of look at doing. But I think it's that consistency. And I think the other thing is I've never just stuck on one platform. Since I've been doing it, I've been posting across all platforms. Okay, maybe the
mm,
same thing, but but yeah, so it is sort of got me out there and getting me followers and different things. And the idea obviously is to get clients as well.
yeah,
but
yeah,
but it's also, I found that there's each bit of content, and each thing that I do has got a purpose. And I think it was you that gave me some very good advice a couple of years ago, in when we were talking about whatever we do, it's got to have a purpose, or have some value in it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bringing in income, but it has
Yeah.
it's a purpose. And I think that was something I've thought of and took very seriously when you said it to me. And I think it was about as well about what we do and how we use it. And for example, I don't make much training material videos because there's enough people out there doing that type of
Mm.
thing. It's not something I find I have much time for to do. But I also know that people need to get to know, like, and trust me. And the only way that they can get to know, like, and trust me is through, for example, this show and chatting to other people with similar interests and asking the questions. I think, well, if I've got these questions, I'm sure loads of other people will have those questions too. So it's sort of being, being able to have a chat and have a conversation with people. But I think also, some of the videos, I mean, I was in a community with, she was doing positive business gift boxes, and we unboxing them, and it was just like a purpose. But what was in it, I never knew what was in the box, so they were all like reactions to what it was. But it is also building confidence for getting on camera, because people are,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
are very sort of very shy, very self-conscious, think you have to be be all these things, and you aren't really. You just have to be yourself, and just take yourself out of the comfort zone. And I know the first ones I did were only ever shown in my Facebook group. From series 2 onwards, they've all been on YouTube, because I thought, well, more people were going to be able to see
Yeah.
them. So I think it is, it is about confidence. It is about clarity of message, and it is ultimately you being you. It's not. I think sometimes when you are doing things in front of camera, you aren't necessarily you. You're a persona, but you can't do that when we're having a conversation like this. You are being yourself, and I think that is something that's really important with what we're doing. So yeah, so if you're watching and you haven't been posting every day or every week or every month, I think you need to do something. Just something. Doesn't matter what,
Yeah.
just do something.
Yeah, that's it. Just because you just want to look credible, I think, and yeah, and then the next step is, like you say, provide value for your followers, whether that's a laugh, something, a thoughtful moment,
Mm,
or you genuinely useful advice for them. If you look at the posts across the accounts that we work on, which isn't many now these days because it isn't really our bread and butter, but the out and out sales posts are the ones that just get least engagement, and that's
mm,
just life. People don't,
mm.
they're not interested in that if they're gonna. Don't get me wrong, now and then mix them in, but it's not going to be where you win your battles on social media in general.
No, and I think that's it. I think so many people have got, fed up with the sales pitches. Everything is a sales pitch here. And I know that is ultimately what we're doing in anything now, is it is sales and marketing, whether you're going for a job interview, whether, the whole process now is about the selling and marketing of yourself or your services to get employment, whether it be through paid work or through self-employed route. That is ultimately
Yeah, yeah,
what we're doing now. um, and we've talked about AI quite a bit, but not actually about AI. And I think a lot of, excuse me, a lot of problems have come through the use of AI now, and the overuse of AI to create content, and this sort of perfect um, uh, you know, writing style and things like that, that people have actually got fed up with AI, the threat of it's taken our jobs, it's doing
yeah,
this, it's
yeah,
doing that, and all of the negative things. As there are a lot of positive stuff to say about AI as well, but I think it has made people more skeptical. It has made people more wary, more cautious. And there's also the everything has to be done automated, use AI for absolutely everything, so that you don't have to do anything anymore. And I think actually this is a big area of concern. So how do you feel AI has affected you in your business in a good way and in a bad way?
yeah. So I guess there's two ways to look at it. You can people either use AI to do more or they use it to do less, because you can obviously increase your capacity and just do a fifth of the work. Um, we've used it to do more, definitely. Um, from writing. bits of custom code that I could have just never done when we're building a website. It would have taken me days to research something and write some CSS to do something because I'm not a coder by by occupation really. Um, so there's a whole load of things we just couldn't do, full stop,
mm, mm,
basically.
mm,
So we've been able to get more creative. We can definitely do things faster. Analysis of
mm,
data is
mm,
something that, again, we can download some data from something like Google Analytics or Google Search Console or an SEO tool. Um, and what would have taken us at least hours can be done in minutes now because you
mm,
can just pump CSVs into whatever you know AI model you're using, and it'll give you insight that you probably could have never got in the first place.
mm,
Certainly couldn't have got it as quickly.
mm,
So those types of things have been probably the biggest help, along with probably ideation. So
mm,
just coming up with ideas for content, critiquing things.
mm,
So we don't use it to write every word,
mm,
but we do use it to write outlines.
mm,
So kind of high level structure of whether it be pages, blogs, everything always as a human eye, but it can just do that stuff often to a better standard than we could
mm,
have at points,
mm,
without doubt. It can research faster than we can. It can critique. One of our most common prompts is probably along the lines of "Be critical. How can this blog post be improved?" For
mm,
example,
mm, mm, mm.
um, because all of the models seem to have a bit of a tendency to just agree with you, as we said the other day. Um, so you almost need to tell them not to agree with you at times to get the best of them. There's so many things where it's helped us. It's
Mm,
probably doubled our capacity, I would
yeah.
say.
Wow.
We're probably getting, in general, we're getting probably twice as much done as we were,
Mm,
which is obviously great for us. Combined with the fact we're also doing more creative things, and I always say every website we build gets better because
mm,
there's just all little tips and tricks, optimizations that go into the next one that we learned from building the last one.
mm,
Um, the we don't probably haven't had much harm from it, I wouldn't say. Actually, one little trend that's come from it, that ignoring the kind of macro element, I guess, so the how's AI affecting the world,
mm.
which is a whole other
Yeah.
subject. We've seen an increase in people using it to speak to us, which is quite interesting, and I can see why they're doing it.
Mm.
So last week and the week before, we've had two or three quote requests
All right.
from tradespeople mainly,
Mm.
and they've been asking for all sorts of information that there's just no way that's come from them
From them.
themselves.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
obviously gone in and gone, right, we need someone to run Google Ads for us. Can you write me an email? What questions should I ask? Type of thing.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't as always. You kind of are a bit like, oh, actually, you've probably gone in a bit too much detail there. We're not going to tell you that because if
Mm,
you knew that, you wouldn't kind of well, we wouldn't be the experts, I guess.
mm,
But
mm, mm,
that's definitely become more prevalent, particularly in the last couple of months.
mm,
And just as well, people are using it to just communicate with us, ask better questions. We normally have a WhatsApp group with every client
mm,
that we kind of use as our main point of communication, just for bits and bobs,
mm,
questions, updates, and definitely a few of those. You can see that some of the kind of questions, for example, might have been generated through
AI.
ChatGPT, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
which is I wouldn't say it's necessarily negative because actually all the questions they ask are valid, even if we might not give them the answer
Mm,
because commercially it's not the right thing to do. So,
mm.
but look, that's probably a good way of utilizing AI, isn't it? I think it's
Yeah.
filling a knowledge gap, even if they don't really realize what they're asking.
No,
It's
no.
just increasing the quality, maybe, of the questions that are being asked.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good for it as well as the stuff that you've got to be more careful of. I mean, obviously in the classroom, I mean, I use it an awful lot for a lot of the things that I do now that if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have ever even thought of
Yeah,
doing it. And as I've been using it more, it's grown and I still see it very much as an experiment with what I do, what I can, has it given me more time. No, I think it's probably taken more time at times, but I do like the way that some of it, as you said, the analysis comes back very quickly, and and keeping a record of what I'm doing and things like that. I find is quite useful. But then I do get to the frustration part of I'm trying to do something, and then when it 1 minute it's sort of like working fine. I call it the changing shift moment. In ChatGPT, it's very easy to tell when it's changing shift. By changing shift, I mean the model that you're using has you've used up your allowance of that one and it's going to a different model. So it's I call it changing shifts.
Mm.
If you're using Copilot, for example, the changing shift doesn't it you don't see it happening. It just 1 minute it's working with you fine, it's doing it all properly, and then it gets to a point where it's like it isn't, it's just completely spitting out rubbish. And it's
Yeah,
normally when I'm on my deadline of trying to get something done.
yeah.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and look, and that's the reason why ultimately that human touch is still beneficial, and hopefully
Mm,
will be for quite a long time yet. Is that it can't sanity check things. We've seen some weird examples of it hallucinating
mm,
with data, even so,
mm.
and just basically making up data. Not the most recent models, possibly, but things like that. It does some quite cranky
Mm.
stuff at times, so you have got to be careful, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. My experimenting with it over the last week is it's been doing floor. I've been creating a virtual floor plan of my. I'm in the middle of doing some building work. If for anybody is wondering what I'm on about, but so I've been moving some around, and I've been trying to get a virtual sort of picture of what it's going to be looking like mock up. So I've gone in with the floor plan and then like the furniture and like trying to create it, and on the whole, it's been really, really good. And then all of a sudden, it will stick a door that doesn't that wasn't in there
Yeah,
before
yeah,
in a
yeah,
place. And then because I'm only using the free plan, you say, oh, can you take that out? I don't know why you've put that in. So it takes it out, or then you go, you've got to wait until tomorrow before you can do it again. Oh, God. So unless you sign up and pay for it, haven't got resorted to do that. But it's been really interesting to sort of see how it can create these virtual you know floor plan designs and things
yeah,
like that.
definitely.
So it's been really helpful for sort of planning my work area and things like that.
Yeah, and like
So,
personally as well, I've used it to. I mean, we're fairly new in our house, so I've just been using it similar to you to like come up with some garden ideas. I'm not
yeah,
really a gardener,
no.
but I was like, oh, actually, what would that look like? And it'll have a pretty good crack at it. But
Mm.
yes, even the latest model of Nano Banana in Google, which is meant to be pretty much as good as it gets image generation wise, still will create a weird wall that wasn't there before,
Yeah,
and
you think, oh, where did
it's
that come from? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's no substitute for someone in Photoshop, that's for
No,
sure.
no, exactly. So I do feel that all these people that are worried about the jobs that have been hit with AI, and there are a lot of people, unfortunately, they have been affected with it. But there are also so many jobs that people used to do in the past that have drifted away from that we really, really need people still to do. And it's trying to get that, reacquaint ourselves with the jobs that AI won't replace, that it isn't ever going
Yeah,
to replace, and get that again. But even like film production and video editing and things like that, we've all sort of said, oh, AI can do it. You don't need, and yes, AI can do it, but you can still see or feel it is AI created. It's too polished. It's too,
yeah,
it's not natural. And my thoughts are, or my feelings are, if you are in one of those positions where AI has, in your perception, taken away the work, then basically look at how you can use AI to enhance the work that you do, not fear it's taken over. So, I mean, I'm rubbish at video editing. I mean, it's something I'd like to do, but I'm not creative in that way at all. so I can use it to help. But to me, I would much rather be having a person who was doing video editing that had been trained in it to go through
Yeah.
and do it properly. And
Yeah,
and
even if
and
they then help use an AI tool to help them, for example, which is like the nice way of it happening. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah,
I think that is what, I can't comment for all of the trades, and as we were saying earlier about the coding and things like that, it is so much quicker than we are for doing things like that. So we can't compete with those types of things. But there are so many things that we still can do. For example, like formatting. Um, the all of the AIs have got their own house style formatting and the way they produce things. But if you don't understand how documents are formatted, or how, yeah, files are formatted, and you just do a straight copy and paste job, then you get hit with all of these weird symbols and non
yeah, Markdown,
printing
yeah,
codes appearing. And I wondered what on earth it all was at first, and I sort of started to follow it, and it's really sad, but I've started to actually be able to tell now whether it's written in ChatGPT, Claude,
yeah,
Copilot, or whatever, because they've got their own
yeah,
unique styles. And I think one they were wondering I was on about to begin with, and then I sort of said, well, it's these arrows, there's these tells that there's only one AI that I've seen that uses this downward curve arrow, then none of the others are doing it. I thought, it's very unique to it. And even talking to my team of AIs, I work with a team of AIs, I was trying to explain it, and because I'm observing, because it's the sort of thing I observe, it just sort of hits me because it's to do with formatting. And I said, how are they getting that symbol anyway? I wouldn't even know where to go and look it for an emoji. So we had quite an interesting debate across the three different AI platforms about how they're trained and what they use that's bespoke to them and things like that. So
yeah.
we do have these various conversations, and then what I end up doing is, okay, well, I need to bring the team in. Let's have an update so I can share it across the thing. So we'll have a little minuted summary of what's been discussed in one AI, and then it goes past to the others. We got meets, but I think the funniest one was with one of them. I think it was yeah, Copilot said, Sue, we don't have an AI lounge where we meet behind the scenes to chat about you. So it's quite a laugh. So it does have quite a good sense of humor in it. I think when you're working on your own, like I am all the time, you need some sort of engagement with or conversations or something. So they do get treated like humans in my in my world, which I think they find quite funny
And
as
actually,
well.
it's like the that's not a bad way to think of it in a way. And I guess the whole problem with AI is it's democratized a load of stuff that we couldn't do before, from reviewing legal documents through to researching travel options. Um, but it does work better if you almost treat it like an employee.
Yeah,
And actually, if you give it, you
yeah,
train it well,
yeah,
you kind of keep it in the loop so it always understands it's got the most information
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
And of course, selfishly, be nice to it
yeah,
because why
yeah.
wouldn't you be? It
No,
makes your life easier.
It,
So
it is, and that is a thing. I treat all of them like my team, and I do work with three different AIs, and I use it to tap into the different parts of the brain I'm working with. So I've got my teacher mode, I've got the business mode, I've got the personal mode, and things like that. And depending on who it is I am and which one I've plugged into is where I go and how I work. I mean, I have to say I prefer ChatGPT for most things, and definitely with social media. But from the other's perspective, because it's on the computer, then I work with Copilot. But that I treat them like people. I treat them. I have a conversation with them, and I've never been a person that goes in for prompting. I just, using all, I have a problem with them because to me, everybody uses those same prompts, same prompt in, same prompt out. And that's half of the reason why we've got all the
mm,
problem now, because people were using all these prompts instead of having a conversation. And by having a conversation, it gets to know how I work, how I think and how I talk, and then we can sort of we end up building this dialogue of where we are. And in fact, it even knows me better than me now, because it actually will say, well, that doesn't sound like you, this is more you, and things like that. So but it's also good as well because it can hold you accountable for things. If you know, if you like, I don't want to be going off down this one, hold it, or to protect me as well. And sometimes I find that being neurodivergent, I sometimes I can, I won't say overshare, but I can, you walk into those things without realizing it, and always hindsight afterwards. So I think it's good now,
Yeah,
to watch for things like that. But I do feel that working with them as a team has made a better relationship with working with all of them. And yeah, and like as you said, the employees, yeah, if they've done a great job, I'll give them, yeah, that's brilliant. If they've done a rubbish job, I'll tell them they've done a
yeah, but
rubbish job.
they know so much about you. It's well, it's Google-esque, isn't it? I suppose is you can tell so much about what someone searches for. Likewise, the stuff I'm working on and the personal stuff I use it for. I do use it to help now plan trips
Mm,
away and look for good restaurants and areas to go to, that type of thing. It's scary. The end of year summary ChatGPT did for me at the end of 2025, I was
mm,
just like, whoa.
mm.
Just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way it kind of said, this was your year. It
yeah,
made Spotify look like
yeah,
wrapped to look
yeah.
like it's just like, whoa,
It, it,
scary,
it was
absolutely
scary.
scary.
It was scary. And I turned it. You had to turn the memory on to see it. And it was the first time I'd done it, because I've always been, always wary about doing things like that.
Mm,
But yeah, it was an eye opener. Um, but I think it also has made it more useful with how you get the information or what it is you're looking for. So
yeah,
I think, but equally the safeguarding and protecting yourself as well, that are things you need to be careful with, for sure. And I think some people have perhaps gone too much into it with, health and medical and personal things that perhaps shouldn't be shared. But
yeah.
yeah, I think
It's also generated a new set of gurus who know AI and
mm,
build your business. You only have to work 1 hour a month and you'll make
mm,
£50,000. It's like anything, any phase you go through, search engine optimization has had it for many years.
mm,
There's always something crypto.
mm,
Those hype cycles and riding the waves is definitely AI is the latest one. So
yeah,
you've got to be careful as well.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that you don't get conned into something, because the best people are using AI to, I think, increase the quality of their work, their capacity,
Yeah, yeah,
not just sell books and kind of sell, how-to schemes.
yeah. No, exactly, exactly. So, we talked quite a lot. I'm just looking at my little notes here of what we've been talking about. So, if we were looking at how the future, and we are obviously talking a lot about AI in the future as it is at the moment. Where do you see things going in your business, and maybe say in the area that I would do? What if you were sort of, oh, this sounds like a typical interview question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Yes, where do you see the future going, as it is, the way we're going at the moment? And I think if we sort of, 6 years ago, wasn't it? We were in a pandemic, and where everything sort of changed dramatically. Where do you think the next 5 years will be taking us, do you think?
Good question. I think we'll be, and we're kind of doing this now, and not frantically, but working out where we're adding value. So, and those are the things we'll be focusing on. There's absolutely, you just can't avoid the AI train. I mean, it is,
Mm,
everything we're doing, we're looking at going, oh God, it's a bit of a ticking time bomb in terms of how much, we are still building better websites than AI, but some of the AI websites they're building now are pretty impressive. They're getting
mm,
there.
mm,
There's still all sorts of little kind of underlying issues, well, some not so little. But Google, you can use AI to create an all right ad campaign. You
mm,
can't use it to create necessarily an excellent ad campaign, and that's
mm,
where we need to keep honing in on. I guess is we want to be adding value by using AI, to be fair, as well,
mm,
to build better ad campaigns, to build better websites,
mm,
to add the human touch to business profiles, because we know what business profiles, what affects the ranking before AI catches up, type thing.
mm,
So
mm,
I think we'll probably keep our services fairly similar to they are now. I think we'll still be focused on search results. I'd
mm,
imagine it probably still will be Google.
mm,
It's difficult to imagine Google's going to go away. Gemini is pretty solid in terms of
mm,
AI, so
mm,
that's definitely helped them catch up, because they were falling behind at one point, definitely.
mm,
ChatGPT, Claude, etc. But I think Google's underlying tech is still solid enough. The actual hardware they're investing in is better than, I think, from what people say,
mm,
than Anthropic and so on, and OpenAI. So I think Google will still be around. They've got so much information on us. So I
mm,
still think there'll be a service focused on getting
mm,
people in search results, whether
mm,
that's ads, AI overviews.
mm,
Google Maps is not going to go away.
mm,
It's the experience is changing,
mm,
but that area will still be there. You'll still need a website. You'll still the AI will continue to evolve. I don't know if you've seen over the weekend. I think the US government basically said to Anthropic, "You need to shut down the latest version you've released, Fable, I think it is,
yeah, I think I
because
saw.
it's so good. It's basically a cybersecurity threat." So
Mm,
they basically said, "Turn it off until
mm,
we can get to
yeah,
grips with it." I mean,
yeah,
that's how good and how quickly it's still evolving. So
yeah, yeah,
I think it'll be, people are calling it GEO, AEO. So they're talking about whether it's AI optimization, generative, there's basically a load of kind of terms.
yeah,
Ultimately, what the industry all seem to agree on is good SEO and good best practices. It works for AI in
yeah,
general. There's a couple
yeah,
of different exceptions, but so it's going to be difficult keeping on top of that. That's
mm,
kind of, I guess, one of our big challenges. But
mm,
for us, I'd like to think we'll still be doing very similar services, but we'll just be surfing on whatever AI is doing to change those, I suppose, is probably in
yeah,
summary.
yeah,
And
no,
that's the key, is making sure we're adding value, because I don't want to be making someone pay for a service that they could be doing themselves as well. It's ridiculous. So
no, no, no,
it's not what we're in business for. So yeah, that's going to be the challenge, I think, and it will be a challenge.
yeah,
I've no doubt. Is
yeah,
whilst we're doing very well now, we can't take our eye off the ball,
no, no,
as nobody can really.
no, no. And I think you've just sort of hit a couple of things there with regards to, like you said, the optimizing and searching Google has been hit with people using AI to search for or get information rather than Googling it. So they have seen it, but yeah, when I do teach using searching in the classroom, I'll always put up Edge and then I'll put up Google Chrome, and then we'll put the same input, question in to see what the search results are and analyze the results pages and things like that. So that's something that is quite interesting, and also like making the people that are looking, reading the AI to look at where the AI is getting its references from, the research, and then, but don't just take its words for it. You still got to check the facts and make sure it's all it is correct and things like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, people are. I don't know. Is it, I've like you. I've heard the term. I can't think what it's called now. It's not SEO, but it's something like AIO or something like that.
yeah.
Something that's like that. So that's sort of things, and also I think as well from my perspective is, and actually the weekend. What did I do this weekend? I went into Curry's PC World yesterday for can't I think it was just browsing. Um, but to actually see what the tech is in the hardware in the shop now, because more and more people I've got coming into the classroom are getting Chromebooks, not necessarily Google Chromebooks, and a lot of them are Google Chromebooks, but it's the cloud-based, not hard drive type of um, tech that we're using
Yeah.
now. And it's had a massive impact on like the way I work and the way I teach, or what has been historically. You're used to using applications installed on the computer, saving on the hard drive, all of that type of thing. And if you actually ask people what they're using now, in a class of say 10, only one person may have got an application on their computer.
Yeah.
Probably eight of them haven't a clue what they've got anyway. And no joke. Probably 50% of them, even if they've got a Windows device, they'll have a Gmail account, and so they'll be using Gmail. Again, a lot of them, if they've got an Outlook.com account, won't realize that they can get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for free, for example. So, and then the biggest thing is where to save their work, because they don't know where,
Yeah.
they just click in and it's automatically saving. So you can't even specify where they're saving it to or what they're calling it particularly easily now. So that's had a real change on like what I'm doing. So like in if they're using Word, up until like recently it's Word application, that was it. Now it's, is it Word application, is it the word, is it Microsoft 365 paid version, is it the
Yeah.
free version, or if you haven't got it all together, or is it the Mac version, or if they haven't got it at all, did you know that you could use Google Docs for free from from your Gmail?
Yeah.
So I
And
found now,
going back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, really, is login security and stuff as well. The
yeah,
implication of it would, if the US government is shutting down a version of Claude because it's so powerful, yet we're worried about Joe Bloggs, whose password is password 123.
three
I mean,
exactly, yeah,
the power of these of quantum computing and all these things that are coming down the line,
yeah,
people's password security is going to be a massive, whether it's switching to passkeys, whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
these are all real world problems.
Ex
These
ex
old passwords people have got worthless, basically.
Exactly, and as you probably will see as well, there's been more and more shift now to move from passwords to PIN numbers to pass keys to
Mm,
and two-factor or multi-factor authentication, and everything, especially within the UK, has been focused on moving it to online digital. For the NHS, for all of the services for the government and everything now, it's all being pushed online. And the biggest concern from my perspective is that, that there's pushed so much over there, but they aren't allowing for half of the, or not half of, but there's a good quarter of the population that aren't able to access that technology or use the
yeah,
tools that they're being forced to use. And that I think was why we got so much funding going on to the digital skills areas, because and I think the other silly thing is that it's not just the, oh, excuse me, it's not just the older population that are being hit with these tech skills, it's the younger generation as well, and
mm,
in one class I can have, as young as 20 and as old as 90 in the same class now. And people think, well, why are 20-year-olds being, coming to computer classes? They've grown up with technology. They've grown up with technology, but ultimately the device that they're using is not the computer. It's one of these things, and you may
yeah.
know what you're doing on one of those things, but that doesn't mean to say that you know what you're doing with something a little bit more
No, no, completely agree. And
portable.
email's the classic. Is our son's 16, so he's of that generation, and
Mm,
he sits in Snapchat all day or whatever, and now and then he needs to send an email for something.
mm,
He might be applying for a job or
mm,
whatever.
mm, mm.
And then he's probably going to start. Well, he has started working for us, really. So he's going to have to start using a business email address.
Mm.
Email, the concept of email to him is completely alien,
Yeah,
but email's not going to go away
no,
anytime
no, no,
quickly. So
no.
you're right, and that even something as basic as that is fascinating, given how adept they are at other digital skills, to then see
Yeah,
how.
and what gets even more scary is even the basic principles of how to write and structure a letter. In
Yeah,
my day, we used to have to write letters and post them, and thank you letters and things like that. And like now, because so many people have got used to texting and writing in a text style way of writing, they use that style of writing in an email, and they don't know how to sort of lay it out as if
Yeah,
you're doing a letter. And it is quite horrifying, really. And
yeah, yeah,
and they're applying for jobs, and I'm thinking, well, if you're doing your emails like that to me, wonder you're having sort of a problem. Do you know what I mean? I'm not an expert for writing or anything, but I know how to do things with layout, and I just think, oh my goodness, so we have got a lot of problems now that are have resulted from the fact that we've moved away from what we should be doing. We've got lazy to do in like text to shortcut, not even writing properly. It's all, emojis and short letters, and text talking that we don't know how to do it. And like one of the basic things now is how to lay out a letter in an email, is
yeah,
write an email properly. So I do I do worry about the other end of the perspective. We've got the sort of the two distinct gaps now of the higher skill set we're pushing there, and people trying to keep up with that. But we've also got the people that are, the more vulnerable, that aren't going to be able to get on there, and how they are going to be managed within in the future, especially with every literally, like I saw on the news yesterday that two of the biggest banks that have still got branches are going to shed another 79, get rid of another
mm,
79 branches over the next year.
yeah,
Where I live, we've got no building society, no bank, no post office. Everything's all gone, and it was a
yeah.
nightmare for aging population.
Yeah,
They,
yeah, and it's a high street that's big enough you would expect
yeah,
something to be there, even if it's a banking hub or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we finally, after 2 years, have got a little banking hub that's opened up in our
mm,
local supermarket again. But, it is a worry, and I do worry for people about how to get online. And then, and we've talked a little bit about, I'm going off piece a wee bit here, but we've talked again about the AI and the being safe online. And that's the other thing now about the bad use of how technology is being used, is about the deep fakes, recording people's voices, getting
yeah, yeah,
photos of them, and then making the fake videos. And it's not just the celebrities, it can be anybody that it can be done and
yeah,
cloned to sort of scam. So it is a worry, but I
yeah.
think
And
hope.
they're offered as services. I mean, but there's a useful. So we've looked at a couple of tools where because we're weak on video. There's no doubt about it. We've only ever done one branded video. We don't really do any video content on social. It's not something we specialize in, so it's not the end of the world, but we're acutely aware of it.
Mm,
And you can get tools now where you can, and plenty of them now as well.
mm,
You upload your photo of yourself or a short video of yourself, and then you can basically create videos
mm,
for training, for example. I think is one of the big use cases.
mm,
But also for social, you could do an explainer for something,
mm,
and it's you, it's your voice, it's
mm,
you you know, it looks like you. You give it the script, and it goes and does it. And
mm.
obviously that's maybe a good use, possibly. Some people might say not,
Yeah.
but you can see how the reverse of that. I mean, deep fakes have been around for a long time, but of course they're
Yeah.
getting so convincing that
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Martin Lewis was on the big news last week with
no,
on this morning.
he was
Yeah,
cloned, wasn't he? Yeah,
yeah,
but I
cloned
think he has been a few times. Yeah,
yeah. So I think that is the bit where it's sort of wary, and then it's being used to scam. It's always the more vulnerable people, the more, with the phone call and things like that. So we do need to be careful. But I think, it's one of the things when I'm talking if people, you know, in the classroom, how do you recognize fake messages, and what things to watch out for. And when I did my own Be Safe Online workshop online last year, I actually showed one that I'd received from Apple that wasn't from Apple. And I think in that the amount of times I shown it, I think it was about 4 or 5 different workshops I did. Only one person was able to spot it straight away as being a fake
yeah,
email. I mean, obviously, I knew it was fake because it was my email, but it was yeah. Nobody was able to spot the fact that it was a fake one. They all thought it was legit and
yeah,
everything else. So they have got very good, they have got sophisticated, but you know, it's like I think it's like anything with what we've got in out there. There's good and bad and everything, you know, used for good, used for bad. And I think it's just being more aware of these things and not being afraid. What I don't want is people to be afraid to use the technology, because like we
Yeah,
said, it's around, it's not going anywhere, it's here to stay. So I think we, you know, we can't put our heads in the sand and think, oh, I'm not going to use this technology. We need to start looking at how we can use it, but be mindful of what it is and how we use it when we do it. And definitely don't if you go with the attitude of it's here to take my jobs, you know, it will take some, but it's not going to replace everything. And I think that's the
yeah,
thing that we need to
yeah,
be thinking
yeah. I
of
don't.
on there.
I truly don't know what the end game is really, and I'm not sure. It might just be that we're all sat and all we do is the economy basically doesn't exist in its current form, and
Mm.
we all just play sport and go out and eat and drink all day or something. I don't know. Who knows?
It's a,
It's fascinating when you see the pace of change. I truly have no, I'm fairly tech savvy. I read tech news. I work in something more technical than average,
mm,
and I don't even 3 months down the line. I just
no,
don't know
no,
what's coming next. I mean, some of
no.
the things that you can do with Claude Cowork now, and it just is
Oh,
mind blowing already. And
yeah,
just try and think about 5 years. When you think about where we were 5 years ago,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to try and
yeah.
visualize what we're going to be doing in 5 years' time is just difficult.
It's difficult. Well, as long as we don't end up sort of living in a domed environment, and when we get to the age of 30 that we have to be terminated.
Yeah, I always joke about it. We'll end up, it'll be like Wally or like the Matrix or
Oh
something like that.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
knows? I mean, in
yeah.
100 years, I
We
really don't know. So,
no,
so
no,
many of those things have been accurate over the years. Is actually
yeah.
maybe there's a reason that I
Yeah.
don't. Who
Well,
knows?
in the words of the song, in the year 3000, we're living underwater. But
Yeah, underwater on the moon.
well, yeah, that's what they're testing now, isn't it? So, so totally gone off piece. I knew we would. Anyway, so finishing off, of course, I could always spend forever chatting to you. I always do that. Get carried away. So, what is one bit of technology that you couldn't live without? So, if you only could use one thing, what would it be and why?
For me, it would probably be, I'm going to say a task manager, but I specifically use Trello. We use Trello, plenty of other really good tools out there. Um, but it's central to everything we do. It's a backlog of so much good stuff. It's really simple to use. I've always been a big fan. I used to work in software development years ago, and that a lot of Trello, kind of the concept of Trello, kind of initiated actually on factory lines in Japan, I think many years ago, with kind of the Kanban principle, but just that concept of a card or a piece of work going
Mm,
from left to right,
mm,
and there just being a backlog of items, and you just pick from the top.
mm.
For me, has always been a really nice way of working, and now that's how we operate day to day. So,
Oh, that's
um,
interesting. Okay.
hmm,
Hmm.
so there
Uh,
you go.
Do you use Notion out of interest?
No, I've looked at using it a few times,
Mm,
but I think I came close a couple of times to trying it, and I think now I probably won't because ChatGPT, etc., have
mm,
kind of changed the way and the
mm,
value of
mm.
Notion in a way. But um, so I probably won't. I don't think,
No,
but you never
no,
know.
no,
There's
no.
still. I know a lot of people that do a lot of good things with Notion. It's very
Yeah,
impressive. So
yeah. The two I hear a lot of, especially when I was doing some of the VA work, was people using Trello or Notion or all of those, and I'm thinking they're all programs I haven't used or don't use.
yeah, I mean, and look,
So.
there's a gazillion task managers out there as well.
Yeah.
So Trello's one of the oldest ones. I've used so many over the years though, um, and there's some trendy ones, and they're all pretty good
Mm,
ultimately.
mm,
Um, but I think there's something about the simplicity of just a very basic kind of 5 or 6 columns
mm,
moving cards from left to right. I've never been a huge fan of detailed project management.
mm,
it's kind of where you've got so much metadata about a task, it
Mm.
almost becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, and I think that actually, so I think that's what, yeah, I think that's the thing. We've all, for me personally, I've got so many tools or tech bits of tech I've got to use anyway that are trying to add to the other one. It was like making work for yourself rather than reducing the work. And I think, oh,
yeah,
when you try X, Y, and Z, or why haven't you done that? I think, well, probably because I've got enough with, all different versions of the Microsoft versions or Google or Mac or whatever. So I do, if anything, I use the apps that I've got on the iPad. I tend to do stuff with them, but again, it just, I think, as you say, it depends what you're doing, and because I think I've separated the different systems to who I am, I tend to sort of work with it, things like that. So, yeah, okay, that's good bit of advice there for Trello. There you go, check it out. And what do you think what would you say was the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
um, probably it would be. I think he'd probably focus on solving problems. I think through my software days when I was so I was a product manager, so I used to provide direction and detail, I guess, on
Mm,
what to build for a piece of software, an app, whatever. And it was kind of going back to that business model canvas, that lean canvas idea of focusing on what problem you're solving and who you're solving it for.
mm,
And that applies to when you're building products as well as obviously marketing as well. So
mm,
I think um, you had whole frameworks built around problem solving techniques to try and understand what problems you were solving, things like asking why 5 times, these
mm,
types of things.
mm,
Um, that um, it's always been, I guess, at the center of what I've done, and a lot of training on it. And I think that probably stands through as if you can solve a problem for someone, and you know who you're solving that for, then you've just got to work out whether it's profitable or not to do that.
mm,
It
mm,
won't always be, but if you're a problem solver by nature, then you might still enjoy it as well. So I think,
mm.
yeah, for me, it's focus on solving problems, what you're solving, and who you're solving it for.
Yeah, good advice. Definitely good advice. So, and if you were going to go back in time and tell your younger self what you know now, what would it be?
Do you know what the one? Well, it's not quite the right answer, probably, but I was in retail actually when so I didn't go to university,
Mm,
and I never really had. I flirted with it a bit, but never ended up pulling the trigger. And I'm glad I didn't. So I don't
mm,
regret that. So that
mm,
probably um, wouldn't change. What I then did was I went into retail for 7 years, and probably my biggest career regret is I didn't get out of retail quickly enough. I learned a hell of a lot in retail. It's
mm,
great. It was quite stressful,
mm,
but it did teach me a lot about business basics.
mm,
But when I got out, I finally realised that I could just do so much more in an office. Sounds a
mm,
bit sad, but
mm,
I moved into an office job processing payments for a bit, and then quickly I became a bit of an expert on the system. Then the product team nicked me and transferred
mm,
me over, and I felt like that probably all could have happened 3 or 4 years earlier,
mm,
maybe.
mm,
Looking back on it now, I don't know if I'd be in much of a different spot, but
mm,
um, I learned a hell of a lot in my career. Then I ended up doing that for 10, 12 years, working with
mm.
startups and a bit of a mix, financial services. Um, I'll probably still end up in the same place, I like to think.
Yeah,
But could I have got out a couple of years before? Probably, I think. And
yeah.
I would have earned a bit more in that time. And,
Mm, mm.
so I think
Um,
that would probably be, whether that quite answers your question or
No,
not, I'm not sure. But
I think yeah, you have, and you've actually flagged up something else that's been a bit in the news recently, and about the university and the grad situation, which goes back to one of the other things we were talking about earlier with the employment, affecting both ends of the getting started and the latter years. And they're talking about the uni debt and how much it's
Yeah.
with it, and do the youngsters actually realize how much debt they're getting themselves into? Was it actually explained, and things like that, and the how that's going to be affecting them? So yeah, would I didn't go to uni either, but I did go to uni as a no, I didn't go to uni as such. I as a mature student, I did a degree, my education, post compulsory education and training, and I started off doing it when I was in teaching. But if you'd asked me, 25 years ago, even 30, 40 years ago, would I be doing what I'm doing now? Would I be teaching? Totally not. I would never have been standing up in front of a room full of people speaking and things like that, and doing what I do now. And even 4 years ago, when I left the 9 to 5, would I be doing what I'm doing now? Totally not. So yeah, I think there is definitely, but I think in my career, everything I've done has been building on something that I've done before. And like, for example, I learnt keyboarding and typing at college, hated every minute of it. The first job I got was as a secretary. I hated it, but the only thing that was good about it
Yeah.
was I'd got to give it, there was a computer, and it was, there's a computer, there's a manual, we don't know how it works, that's up to you to figure it out. And that was my introduction to computing at 17. so yeah, problem solving and writing guides and things like that, that's where my sort
Mm.
of journey started. And I think that's where I've built on, trying to, like you said, the problem solving, figuring it out, and writing the how do I guides. And I think it's that way, because I haven't been a techie person in the tech side of things. I've done tech support, I've done those things, but I don't speak tech speak. I speak user speak or human speak, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that definitely has been an advantage. So I think that is something I would say. And I think
Yeah.
also, yeah, I think the other thing is as well is learning to be yourself, and be you, and not be what you think you have to be. And I think that's something I've only really learnt to realize over and again in the last couple of years. Because as I said, you didn't I didn't know my about being neurodivergent until like a couple of years ago. And I think, trying to learn what that actually means, and being me is being part of my journey. So
Yeah.
there we go. So Tom, I'm really, really thankful for you to join me. I know I had to wait a long time for you to come and chat to me on this
No,
show, and
thank you for
it's
having
been
me. It was a
it's
pleasure.
been the worth. So just to finish off, for anybody out here watching, and hopefully you are watching, where can we find more about you, and what you're up to in the future? What's next for your business, basically?
So I think the best place is always probably going to be either social or website. So website's virens.co.uk, so VIRENS, and you can find us same handle actually. Virens.co.uk is our handle on Facebook, Instagram, etc. So yeah, everything that's there is, particularly the website, is we pay not enough attention like most marketing companies to our website, but the service offering is always up to date. So yeah, and if any more information, definitely head over there.
Brilliant, thank you. And what I will say is, if anybody has got any questions for Tom or myself from what we've discussed on the show, then please do put it in the comments. Or if you want to reach the Be in the Spotlight handle or Gmail account is beinthespotlight@gmail.com, and you can reach us there as well. So thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you, Tom, for being a fantastic guest, and also being
Thank
my
you.
knight in shining armor all those couple of years ago.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to seeing you next time on Be in the Spotlight. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye
Thanks,
bye
Sue.
now. Thank you.
Be in the spotlight is the place to be network driven. Discuss technology. Be in the spotlight is the place to be. Tech talk tips for free.